Hey, what's up, guys? Hope everybody's doing well and having a great day. If mystery is what you like, you're in for a good show today. Stick around, don't go anywhere. I have got video after video after video of mystery. Stick around. If you guys are interested in becoming a Star family member, you can find the link right here in the top of the chat box. Welcome, Chinny. How's everybody doing today? Angel Miller. First, right on. Good job. Guys, honestly, in this video, if people would have seen what I'm about to show you in the sky, and no, it's not this photo you see right here, they probably would have freaked out. No joke. I received, here recently, I received several photos and videos of mysterious things in the day and nighttime sky. I'm going to take you guys down to Brisbane, Australia, where you're going to see something quite extraordinary. And I'll tell you the backstory of how I ended up down in Brisbane here in just a moment. Letting people get on board. Hey, Graham, AZ Watchwoman, the number one and very first Star family member. Good evening, good afternoon, and possibly good morning, wherever you are located around the world. In this video, we're going to talk about the massive sunspot. Quick update on the earthquake situation. Obviously going to go down to Brisbane. You're looking at a photo here sent in by Jacqueline Mendez out of New South Wales, Australia. Australia has been a hot spot here recently. She looked up and saw this getting ready to go back behind the clouds. She caught a photo of it right before it disappeared. Look at that. Something's going on down in Australia, and I've got some incredibly unique satellite footage to prove it. And I found this by looking at the sky above Brisbane a couple of days ago. I was looking for these that you see over here at the homepage of the website, MrMBB333.com. That's today's feature photo sent in by Chris out of Brisbane, Australia. Look like frequency waves going through the sky, right? They say this is a natural phenomenon. Happens all the time. Well, it doesn't necessarily happen all the time. It's kind of rare, especially on the scale that I'm about to share with you guys. These waves in the sky that appeared to mimic each other and looked almost identical to each other spanned for several miles as far as the viewers could see in all directions. So I went down there and I got to looking around on satellite, and I found something even more interesting than the skies themselves. Here's another example of these, what I call frequency lines in the sky. That's what I call them. To me, they look like they were influenced by a frequency, going through the clouds, or going through the sky, and the clouds are responding to the frequency. And here's another good example sent in by Laura Coleman. I'm not sure of the example, or not sure of the location. This is an example of the frequency waves in the sky, but these are more like straight lines, like a giant louver in the sky. That's obviously what compelled her to take this photo. You're going to see more examples of this phenomena down in Brisbane here in just a minute. I've also got a helicopter chasing black UFOs in the nighttime sky. Seriously, you can't make this stuff up. In fact, we're going to start with that video right now. Here we go. I've got about 1,000 tabs open here, so bear with me, guys. This video I just received today. Check this out. Here we go. I gotta check my volume here because I'll get email during the video. Watch this. Check the volume just a little bit. Washington, Indiana, David Sparks, 724. Okay, notice the dark object right here, and this isn't a helicopter. There's going to be another one come into the field of view. I'm going to let this play, and then you're going to see a helicopter come in as if it's possibly chasing these things. This is wild. Look at that thing. Here comes the chopper. He thought it was a Black Hawk. That was the original unedited. Now we're going to zoom in and take a closer look. Here we go. I mean, you can't make this stuff up, right? This was spotted above Washington, Indiana about a week ago. That's obviously some sort of a chopper. I don't know if that's a Black Hawk or what. But this over here, Really? That's pretty wild. Great video by Mr. David Sparks out of Washington, Indiana. Cool stuff. I want to take you guys now to, let's see, we'll go down to Brisbane here in just a minute. I've got a whole collection of different things I want to share with you guys. Quick update on the Sunspot. Yeah, that's something I wanted to talk about. We're about to see one of the largest sunspots in active regions in a long time. So look for solar activity to increase here in the next 7 days. We're probably 2 days away from seeing the huge active region in Sunspot. I just took another screen grab from this is the flat. If the sun were flat, this is what it would look like. The gray is the daytime side, and the gold is the gray is what's facing the Earth, and the gold is what's behind the sun. And this is what's turning towards the Earth right now. That dark region right there is a huge active region that's already produced a large shock wave that sent ripples through the entire sun. So that's turning towards the Earth, so we could definitely see a big increase in solar activity, which could lead to more earthquake activity. I just saw, right before I started this live, an earthquake right here in central Kansas, a 3.4, coming in at about 2 miles deep. Very shallow earthquake right there in east central Kansas, just south of Salina. Why is there a 3.4 right there? I mean, talk about earthquakes in diverse places. There's yet another example. We've got the earthquake up there near Greenland. We've still got the ongoing swarm over here off the coast of Kamchatka, where the 8.8, the sixth largest earthquake ever recorded, or at least in the last 125 years. The swarming is slowing down some. I saw today that there was a 6.1 that came through earlier today over here in the region that saw the tsunami and the large megathrust. We're waiting on the next location. They say there could be another one originate from that same location that is not off the table or out of the realm of possibility. So that's an area that we're still watching very, very closely. Looking at the GOES X-ray flux, no large solar flares in the last 14 days. But again, this could all change when that giant sunspot turns towards the Earth. Those of you that are sensitive to the spikes in the Schumann, you probably noticed a little increase in the last 48 hours. In fact, yesterday for about 6 hours, there was a spike of over 40 hertz detected in the Schumann. And it looks like it was just after dinner time yesterday, depending on where you live. And then today, there's been a steady increase in, not necessarily spiking, but looks like it was up around the 12, 15 range for the better part of 12 hours today. So, you know, there's been some activity in the Schumann, but not a whole lot. Looking at the Yellowstone supervolcano caldera, still no access to seismographs. They're still offline. We've got seismograph activity over here at the USGS, looking at various ones. Oh, thank you, Graham. What can you tell me about the voids in the mantle? We can talk about that here in just a little bit. That means there's more than likely magma on the move. But looking at the seismographs here around the world, yeah, this is the global seismograph. The majority of these are offline. You can see down here, oh, they got some of them back on. That's cool. Turkey, there you go. Samoa, that's good. So we're Alaska, that's good. Thailand, Missouri, Philippines, yay. So some of these are working again. All right, cool. That is great. So we've got more access to global seismographs around the world. Here's the ones over here in the US, up here in Wyoming, Montana. This one here looks like, again, it's like you're riding a roller coaster, you know, up and down, up and down. So is the ground moving, or is that some sort of a technical glitch with the machine? I'm thinking the ground's moving over there. I really do. There's still 2 buoys in event mode out here in the Pacific following the massive 8.8 up here in the Gulf of Alaska. That buoy right there, that's the same one that I saw the 6-foot rise on during the event, and it's still showing signs of activity. Thank you, Melody, for the super chat. Stacy, Star Family member. Let's go. Yeah, hit those likes, guys. That pushes the live stream out there a little bit farther. It helps, and it's free. Water column height. Thank you, Stacy, for the is that a super sticker or a super chat? But this one up here is still bouncing. This has been several days after the fact, and there's one down here in Indonesia. This one too, still showing some signs of activity. Not necessarily a tsunami, but nevertheless, it's showing signs of activity. Okay, let me get my card here, guys, and here we go. Got you updated. Oh, mountRainier, real quick, up to 1256. When we started, I've been following Rainier for a while, but when it hit 800, I started talking about it daily. And since 800, about 10 days ago, it's now up to 1256 in the last 30 days. So the activity continues at the summit of mountRainier. A lot of activity going on, guys, especially in the northern hemisphere, but not limited to just the northern hemisphere. There's activity in the southern hemisphere as well. And looking at the hurricane situation, I can say with a certain degree of accuracy that there's not going to be any hurricanes in the Atlantic Ocean anytime soon because of the Sahara sand. And more than likely, that will lead to no hurricane activity in the Caribbean Sea or the Gulf of Mexico. And here's why. It's just simple logic. There's too much sand out here. The air is way too dry. And for that sand to travel 4,000 miles, there has to be a certain amount of wind shear. And hurricanes don't like dry, sandy air, and they don't like wind shear. So no hurricanes out here. Now, could there be one form in the Gulf of Mexico or the Caribbean Sea? Yes, there's an outside chance there could be, but not necessarily in the next 5 days. Anytime after that, yes, of course, but not out here in the Atlantic Ocean. This is another look at the Sahara sand. This is just an in-color graph, and you can see the plume reaches far and wide. I mean, it is absolutely massive and extends for thousands of miles, and it will be like that all summer long. You guys are in for a treat in this video. Have you ever seen a mysterious craft hanging around in the sky get hit by lightning? Well, you're about to here coming up in this video. Mysteries in the sky. I've got some new, I get these every day. I get videos of mysterious objects in the day and nighttime sky on a daily basis from all around the world. We're going to start this segment off. I put together a little video segment of some of the ones that I've received here recently. I've still got dozens to share with you guys. But you're going to see what looks like a black triangle craft sitting in a thunderstorm, get struck by lightning, or it's releasing plasma from the front of it. I'll let you guys decide. Joshua and Amanda from Branson, Missouri, a little over 48 hours ago. This is hot off the press. This is in the original unedited same speed format. I didn't slow it down yet, but we're going to. We're going to slow it down and zoom in. You ready? Here we go. They were filming the thunderstorm and the lightning, and they got to looking at their video, and they noticed this sitting in the sky during their video. Hey, thank you for the super chat, Susie. Well, I'll see what we can do about that. You're wanting some merch? I think we still have the merch store around. See this here? This is in super slow motion. Thank you for the super chat, Susie. That's super cool. There's the object right there. Now watch, let me offer a little bit of perspective here. You're going to see over here on this side where I have my arrow, you're going to see this either get struck by lightning or discharge some sort of plasma. I don't know how else to describe it, but something happens over here on the right-hand side of this object. Here we go. Trevor O'Connor, thank you, my friend. Appreciate the super chat. Watch close, watch close. You're going to see it in action right there. See, I paused it. See it come out, or it came in. Like a bolt of light. And then you can clearly see, here it is again. This is like part 2. And then it slows back down. And then I'll show it again. I'll zoom in even closer. Let's go back. One more time. Okay, right here. Here we go. Watch the lightning come down. Circle around right there. There it is, and there's the lightning. You can see a circle of energy. So what was this thing doing up there in the thunderstorm? Was it up there just like recharging? What was it doing? Right there. See it? That's pretty cool. I mean, talk about being in the right place at the right time. Branson, Missouri, and all they were doing was simply filming the light show that was being put on by the recent thunderstorms that rolled through Missouri just a couple of nights ago. Another moving triangle. This one here was totally silent, sent in by Mary Sanchez. Not sure of the location. I want to say Texas, but I'm waiting to hear back from Mary. This occurred just a few nights ago as well. She said this wasn't making any sound. It wasn't an airplane. There were no flashing lights on it. Just kind of moving through the sky silently. She said it was a triangle craft. This is something, I have 3 pictures to share with you guys. And this is one of the 3 photos that were sent in just here recently. This one's out of Sicily, Italy. And for some reason, just in the last week, I've received a photo, a really cool photo out of Italy. And I've received 2 really cool videos out of Italy. And usually I don't get any photos or videos out of Italy. And I've gotten 3 in less than a week. Marcello M., July of 2025, out of Sicily, sent in this photo of what appears to be a silver disc in the daytime sky. I mean, it is what it is. I haven't done a single thing to this photo except put the man's name on it and location. That's all I did. I didn't adjust the lighting, color, or anything. That is absolutely 100% original. I didn't have to. It's right there, plain as day. And yes, it was in broad daylight. Look at that. I mean, how else do you describe it? It was a perfect disc in the sky. Kind of like this one here. I started off the beginning of the video with this photo sent in by Jacqueline Mendez out of Bondi, New South Wales, Australia. Australia's been a hot spot here recently. Really cool stuff you're about to see out of Australia. Look at that. Now this one I did modify it just a little bit. All I did was adjust the lighting and color. I was trying to pull forward what we're looking at here. I mean, really? What is going on? This is the second disc. The first one we saw was in Italy. This one's down under the equator in Australia. I mean, it looks like a intelligently designed craft. It's not an airplane or a helicopter. How else do you describe that? Here it is in a different format. You can see it's reflecting light. That tells us it's obviously got density. That's why I went ahead and went with this one. I know the clarity's not there, but I wasn't necessarily looking for clarity. I was looking for density. This one here, showing a little bit of density as well. This one here is an inverted format. Light is dark, dark is light. And you can almost see the dark pattern there? You can almost see what it's made out of. You can see it's made out of, at least it appears to be, sections of what look like triangular metal or something like that. See the shape of the dark feature right there? I just saw a super chat come in over there. I think, who's that? Sweet Nam. God bless you. Jesus is coming soon. Oh, thank you. Let me give you a like there. Thank you for the super chat. Who did that? That is super kind. All right, let's go. Sweetnam Ministries. Thank you, Sweetnam Ministries. That's very cool. But this one here is a completely inverted format. And sometimes, but not every time, when you invert, it depends on the atmospheric conditions, whether it was day or night, how much lighting and things like that, whether this particular technique will work. And sometimes it does. It works really good. And this time it actually did work pretty good. You can see what looks like an intelligently designed panel right there that's shaped almost triangular. That's probably what made up that disc, right? Here's another good view. This is a different format, but look at the shapes. So that tells us that this thing was indeed of intelligent design. And see the centerpiece right there where all the triangular shapes meet? They're bigger at the bottom and slender at the top. There it is. And then they meet there in the middle. That was a craft of some sort. Where it came from, what it was doing, she didn't know. All I'm doing is analyzing it. Yes, there was something there in the sky. Very good photo. Here's photo number 3, and then we're going to get into some video footage that's quite good. Waco, Texas, Cheryl Purvis, July of 2025. Looked up and saw this in broad daylight. I mean, how do you describe that? There's no other clouds in the sky. That's obviously what compelled her to take this photo. And this thing was very symmetrically shaped. Look at the perfect angles. The angles on each end are identical. Those are probably what, 45-degree angles. Right around 45-ish, and they're both almost identical. It's very symmetrical, also implying intelligent design. Just sitting in the sky. How does something just sit in the sky? It's either a balloon full of helium or it's anti-gravity. Those are the only two things that I can think of. So again, more mystery. Here it is in an inverted format. And again, I was trying to pull forward features and things like that. But you get the idea. Definitely profiled the angles and the straight line on the bottom and the straight line across the top. It looks like an aerodynamic craft of some sort, not even trying to hide, just sitting there in the daytime sky. You can't make this stuff up. You don't have to, guys. Just go look around. AJ Fakit, July 2025, looked up and saw this in the nighttime sky, or evening just after dark, some sort of rapidly pulsating light, and then that, let me back it up, whatever it was, entered the field of view very quickly from the upper left at about the 10 o'clock position. Here we go. Right there. Something flew into the field of view as he was watching that in the sky. That's obviously why he was filming this part of the skies, because of that mysterious light. And I've gotten several videos of these mysterious, same type of lights, not only in the nighttime sky, but as you're going to see right here, in the daytime sky. Jack out of Buffalo, New York, looked up and saw a mysterious, very bright light in the daytime sky. Look at that. I zoom in a little bit closer. That is super, super bright. And I don't think this is a drone, guys. I know we can always assume that some of this stuff is drone activity. I get it. I totally get it. But even as I zoom in on this thing, why is the light so bright and it doesn't look like a full drone? I mean, it looks like obviously a flying machine. Then it takes off real quick right here. Takes off to the right and disappears out of the field of view. So he found it very interesting. In fact, he sent me 2 videos of that. I just kind of condensed it for presentation purposes because he watched it for a decent amount of time. I'm not sure what's going on here. Hold on just a second, guys. All right. No, I saw, where's Melody? Melody, I saw Melody. Where's Melody at? I would never do that. I saw Sweet. Hold on just a second. Big shout out to Trevor, Susie. I think Melody was the first one. I saw Melody. Hey, Melody, what's going on? We're going to Leander, Texas. Here we go. Sir Skelt, July 2025. Melody sends me stuff in the email. In fact, I got your email, Melody. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. Okay, again, look at all the lights in the sky. There was just an overwhelming presence in the sky. That's what compelled him to take this video. They were everywhere. And not only on one night, but 2 different nights. All these lights just kind of buzzing around in the sky. Again, you could deduce that maybe these are drones, but they made no sound. Drones, especially novelty drones that you can buy at your local hobby store or order online, they're sometimes, they're a little noisy. That's just the personality of these things. These were super quiet. 9 nights later, same location, Leander, Texas. Same gentleman was outside, looked at the sky, and the sky again just swarming with these unusual lights that are flying very, very randomly, nearly colliding, and again, no sound. So a lot of activity in the skies above Leander, Texas. Going from Leander to Cincinnati, Ohio, Rebecca, late July of 2025. She looked up and saw this coming at her at a decently, not necessarily super fast, but a decent rate of speed. Wasn't a Chinese lantern because it wouldn't have lasted this long, Melody. Accelerates, but no blinking. Here we go. Now, if this were a Chinese lantern, it would have already been out. If it were an airplane, you would have seen blinking lights. If it were a helicopter, you would see blinking lights, and it would have made a very distinct noise. We've all seen and heard helicopters, right? This wasn't a helicopter, wasn't any type of a flying machine that she was familiar with, or me either, after looking at this thing. And I zoomed in on it. That's not a Chinese lantern. It wouldn't have lasted that long. No way. And it's too big. It's way too big, and it keeps going. It's not done yet. She said she was describing it as red to the naked eye. It showed up kind of orange in the camera, but she said it was red in the nighttime sky. Example number 8 looks like the same exact thing, going from Cincinnati, Ohio to Southwest Texas. Melanie W., July of 2025. Again, a big bright orange object. Is this part of the interstellar traveler that's going through the inner solar system? Does it have a fleet of objects that we just haven't seen yet that are showing up in the atmosphere of the Earth, and people are starting to see these things in the day and nighttime sky? I have a report. In fact, it is, I think it's a newer report. Where did it go? I put it up right here. Harvard scientist believes the interstellar comet could be an alien craft. We should put all possibilities on the table. And this article is dated July 30th of 2025, just a little over 72 hours ago. And here's another look at the object. I've analyzed this, and right now, from what I've seen, I've analyzed 3 different observations. And so far, you can see it right here moving through the center. There it is, whatever it may be. It's not behaving, in my personal opinion, it's not behaving, and it doesn't look like a comet. So the Harvard scientist, his name is Avi Loeb, Professor Loeb. Yeah, Avi Loeb says him and his team say the interstellar object is on an extremely unusual course. And we've talked about that. It's coming in like an airplane would fly. It's coming in horizontally. Comets usually don't travel like that. And he said that would be very unusual if a comet were to fly like that. He said they don't typically do. He said it would be very, how did he put it? He said it would be very arrogant of us to assume that with all the stars and possibilities of life now that we're discovering all these exoplanets and things like that, if there weren't at least some intelligent life somewhere in the universe. And I agree, just based off of sheer numbers, there probably is somewhere. We just haven't been able to find it. Have they found us? He seems to think maybe so, that this could be what we've been following now for the last 2.5, 3 weeks. He's thinking this could be, it has a chance at least, to be an intelligently designed craft. And that's coming from a Harvard scientist, not me, but I couldn't agree more. Speaking of intelligently designed crafts, here we go, guys. We're going down to Brisbane, Australia. Caught these in the middle of the evening and going into the overnight hours. First of all, I want to share with you guys something that was unusual in itself. I don't usually get a whole lot of pictures from Brisbane. I mean, I have, but just not on the regular. This past week, I've gotten 3 different pictures from 3 different people that don't know each other that looked up and saw these clouds. I went to the satellite to confirm what these people saw, and I knew what they saw was real because I've seen it before, but I wanted to offer 2 different perspectives for you guys so you could see looking up what these things look like from the ground and looking down from a satellite. And sure enough, there they were. But I looked at another satellite and I found something much different that we're going to look at here in just a second. First photos are by Christy out of Brisbane. 7:30 is when this occurred, a little over 48 hours ago, actually 72. She looked up in the sky, was just completely overwhelmed with all of these frequency waves as far as she could see. Gravity waves, however you want to describe these things. They kind of remind me of ripples, in an ocean. So far as she could see that way, and this is witness number 2. I was very surprised that I got all these photos from 3 different people. Chris, 7:30, 2025. He too looked up and was quite surprised at what he was seeing. But it was what they didn't see that occurred a few hours later that was even more surprising. Oh, check this out. You guys are in for a treat. Those of you that have stuck around and joined the live stream, you guys are in for a treat. And I can see the live stream's not getting pushed out that far, but you guys hopped on and stuck around. I'm going to show you guys something really cool. Okay, these are the same gravity waves, just in inverted formats. I do this sometimes just for presentation purposes, just to get a unique look at the very unique sky. Maybe looking for other features. Witness number 3 stepped outside, looked up. They too were quite taken back. Simon, 7:30 of 2025, saw the same cloud configuration, and they too were as far as he could see in all directions on the day, July 30th, 2025. Now's where it gets really interesting. So as I mentioned earlier, I went down to look at the satellite presentation of Brisbane, looking for those clouds. And yes, they were everywhere. And this is just a small portion. This is Brisbane over looking down from a satellite on the 30th. You can see the 30th, if I can get my zoom to work. The 30th right there, July 30th. And there's Brisbane, right? Okay, check this out. You're going to see more of these gravity waves occupy the field of view. And there's a lot. You don't really see anything else, right? Or at least not yet. I'm going to show you guys something really, really cool. It's hard to see right now, but I'm going to take you in close and you're going to be able to see something that's actually quite fascinating. And you can see, let me back it up just a little bit. See all the waves right there? It was as if the sky was feeling like a frequency or something down above Brisbane. But check out what else was in the sky. What was that? That went out offshore and continued to travel out over the ocean. Here it is in a colored format. Check that out. I added a little bit of color and adjusted the lighting. And there you go again. Moving along at about 120 miles an hour. Look at that. Here it is again. So this was during the frequency wave, gravity wave event above Brisbane. And I simply went down there to just confirm the view from the sky. And there was that. A huge craft. And trust me, people, if they were able to see that, if they looked up and saw that, they would have freaked out. Oh, wow. But this thing was so big, moving at a mere, I think I could calculate 120 miles an hour. These are just still images I took of the satellite feed. And then I'm going to show you something else, because this thing wasn't alone. No, it wasn't alone, not by a long shot. And the thing of it was, they were all traveling, as you're going to see here in just a moment, they were all traveling on the same trajectory, moving from inland Brisbane to offshore. So there's the frequency waves. You can see them. They are just everywhere. The sky was loaded with frequency waves. But look what else showed up. There's another one, and then there's yet another one. They're all on the same track. They're traveling the same highway in the sky. Oh yeah, this gets good. And I adjust this, I zoom in, I slow it down. I'm going to give you guys the best possible presentation I can. These things look like they're of intelligent design. They don't look like they're by random chance. And they're moving through the sky at the same speed. And they seem to be traveling in the same direction. But where and what were they doing? Where were they going? And they were only visible in these few links. They were visible for about an hour as they were moving. From like 8:40 to 9:40, they were visible in like 6 or 7 different loops, and then they disappeared. That's a craft. The clouds and the conditions and the angle of the sun and the position of the satellite and maybe the frequency waves, the gravity waves, made them visible, at least temporarily, because they're probably not supposed to be seen. Maybe they were using the frequency waves as an energy source, or they were creating the frequency waves themselves. They could have been created by those right there, creating ripples in the sky like a ship creates ripples on the top of an ocean. Well, maybe these were creating the gravity waves in the sky above Brisbane. Could they have been? I mean, stranger things have happened. And they say that truth is stranger than fiction. Well, there you have it. Maybe truth is indeed stranger than fiction. These things may have created those very mysterious waves in the sky. Watch them again. This is on a loop, the 30th. Once the waves fully occupy this whole area, you're going to see the waves come in up here from the top, and then the center, and then here comes the the crafts. Is that as if they're creating these ripples in the sky. There goes the first one, the biggest one. Was in the field of view for just over, right around an hour, just over an hour. There it goes again. Wow. July 30th, 2025. Looks like Earth had company. And they were hanging out down in the middle of Australia, where nobody's at. There's not hardly anybody in the outback. Most people in Australia live along the coast, where it's cooler, and there's obviously a beautiful coastline around Australia. So they were more than likely. Hey, Bonnie K, thank you for the super chat. Appreciate that. And Melody, I saw you in there. I'm just busy. I'm trying to keep this flow going. I've got 20 windows open, Melody, and I have 1, 2, 3, 4. I have 12 boxes down below that I'm just trying to keep organized. So my apologies. Look at that. Here you go. That is wild. Were these crafts creating the ripple effect there? Let me pause it right there. Right here's a classic example. See the patterns in the sky? And there's the craft right there. It's like a ship in an ocean moving through the water, and the water ripples. Sky's rippling. The sky's feeling the energy of that craft. And then that one right there. Why not? There was something there. And there may have been a smaller one up there, but those two were the most obvious, and they were traveling on the same exact path as the very first one that we saw. And these two also came from overland. So it's as if they were sitting in the middle of the Australian outback, and on this day, at this time, they decided to depart and head out over the South Pacific Ocean. There they go, creating ripples in the sky. Here's color enhancement. There's the first one that came off the coast. And then there's one behind it. That almost looked like it had a pattern on the top of it, unless it was just a coincidental, right there. You can see what looks like a V or something on the top of that one. Somewhat of a V right there. Just an inverted format. Those things were big, guys. They were big. They'd have been big enough to create waves in the sky. Yes. They were big, and they were moving right there, at least slowly. I mean, between 100 and 140 miles an hour, just kind of cruising through the sky, undetected, hiding up above the clouds, it looks like. Yeah, this would be above the clouds. These are just different types of formats that I use there. That one really darkened it up, and you can see the very unique shape. This one here, shaped almost the same, but a little smaller. But that's definitely something you don't see every day. And those of you that stuck around, that occurred right down here. They call this the Gold Coast, Brisbane, Australia. This is where it occurred, right in here. Right there was the first one. And you can see it go offshore and then just disappear. And they were all traveling the same direction. Pretty wild stuff. Pretty wild stuff. Who we got over here in the chat room today? I agree, they do look like frequency lines. Like Spitfire, that's what I think too. They look like frequency lines. I got my chat set up over here, guys, so I can I don't get things mixed up. It's easier to share the material I have and keep the chat over here, and I have my moderator in here taking care of things. Got the best moderator on YouTube. You're welcome, Jesus Tima. Graham, were they following ley lines? Graham, I thought about that too, because there's energy points, energy sectors where some of the ley lines cross around the Earth. I think they were. There's a power point down in there somewhere. There's 2 power points down around New Zealand and Australia, and they could have been using those power points. Yes, sir. Good observation, by the way. Very cool capture. Thank you, Cian48, Lipstick and Life, Graceless. Hey, Graceless. There they go again, guys. I've just kind of got this playing. So those of you that are just joining, I found this on a satellite yesterday morning. I've been working on this yesterday afternoon, yesterday evening, And I just finished it up this morning, made some final, touches up to it, just to pull forward the super unique features here that were spotted by a satellite just observing the Earth. And these showed up departing what appears to be the outback of Australia. And they were caught leaving the coast, going out over the ocean, where obviously there's no chance of being seen out here above the ocean because there's nobody living on the ocean. So that's where they were headed. Yeah, very, very wild. I was down there looking for these, unique skies that were sent in that you saw on the banner. That was a photo sent in by Chris from Brisbane. Those were some unique skies, and I think maybe they were induced by these ships that were moving through the sky that went undetected, like a ship over water. You know, when a ship's cruising through the ocean, it creates the lines and the ripples in the ocean. Man-made flying machines. I know, Cheyenne, right? They sure look like it. Man-made or something made. They were made by, looks like to me, of intelligent origin. I don't think those were by accident. Now, these other clouds that you see up there, they all look normal, right? They just look like normal random clouds, with the exception of the rippled clouds, the gravity wave type clouds, frequency wave type clouds. And then these showed up and they just looked out of place. They just didn't look like the rest of the sky at all. They looked totally out of place, especially this long one here. And it kept that same shape in those windy conditions, because keep in mind, it's a little breezy up there too. You know, the higher up you go, that's why there's turbulence on airplanes, sometimes more than others. But for it to maintain its shape for just over an hour, well, that tells you it had to have some sort of physical mass, because it's too windy up there. Everything else is changing shape, with the exception of that and the other ones that I showed you. They kept their shape for over an hour. That's not possible. Not in that environment. There's just no way. That's why clouds don't keep the same shape for more than 5 or 10 minutes, because they really can't. So how did that for over an hour? Because it was a solid structure that more than likely was not meant to be seen. No, probably not. But nevertheless, it showed up on satellite. And if it hadn't have been for Simon, Christy, and Chris sending me those really cool sky photos from Brisbane, obviously I wouldn't have been down there looking at the sky. I do scour the world over here on my weather satellite that I use, looking for, tall cloud tops that imply convection and strong rain and wind sometimes, and obviously chasing hurricanes. But I'm usually not down here looking for gravity waves on a day-to-day basis. So I thank them for sharing the pictures with me. And then it was my idea to look at a satellite presentation from above, because they're kind of cool to see from a satellite's point of view, also from the ground as well. And then these showed up, and I was almost done. I was just kind of took a couple of screen grabs for presentation purposes for you guys. And then there they showed up. And I'm like, whoa, we had company. That was one of the better ones right there. And that second one too. Those had very fascinating shapes. Again, for those to keep the same shape, each click represents 10 minutes, 10 minutes, 10 minutes, 10 minutes, 10 minutes. And they keep the same exact shape, 10 minutes, 10 minutes, 10 minutes. That's a 10-minute loop, 10 minutes, 10 minutes, 10 minutes, moving forward. So it was over an hour, and they kept the same exact shape. Nothing else kept the same exact shape. Look at these clouds up here. They're changing every 10 minutes. Not those. There was something there. Right there it is again. Look at the clouds above it. Change, change, change. That's not changing. Kept the same exact shape for over an hour, moving through the sky. Unbelievable. But the satellite tells us that it was there. Yes, July 30th above Brisbane, coming right there. Came from the inland south of Kingaroy, out in the outback, Chinchilla. Came from that area, cruising through the sky from the outback and then out over the South Pacific Ocean. disappeared, never to be seen or heard from again. They took off out over the ocean. Maybe they departed. I don't know. They went out over water where there's obviously no people to see it. But here they were like using the cloud cover below as cover so nobody could see them from the ground. And that also helped kind of reveal them, you know. That's what made them visible, was that thin layer of clouds, and in some cases a thicker layer of clouds. But the smaller ones were in a thicker layer of clouds, and they were pretty good size themselves. I think they were using the clouds as camouflage, and they were visible from satellite though. So not something you see every day. And I got to be honest, that's the first time I've ever seen anything quite like this myself. And I've used a variety of GOES satellites for many, many, many years. And I've never seen anything like this. This is completely new when you see something this obvious. I mean, you can see things that are a little curious and this, that, and the other, but nothing like that. That was very, very unique. Very unique. And again, I've used the GOES. I think this is a version of the GOES, probably 19 satellite. I used to use GOES when it was GOES 10, I think. Many years ago, they keep updating the GOES satellites. But yeah, used them for a long time. Never seen anything like this, guys. Very new and quite fascinating. Maybe this is part of the Space Force program. I do know that there's at least I think, don't quote me on this, there's a base down in Australia somewhere. I don't know if it's an Air Force base or a Space Force base, but I do know there is a base of some kind down in, I believe it's northern Australia. These appeared to come from more of the north central part of Australia, quite possibly. That's the general idea that I got. That's where they came from. North and central. And again, it's very sparsely populated out there too. And these things could have hid out there and nobody would have known the wiser, and then just took off and used the clouds as a cover and disappeared. Super cool. Not something you see every day. Brisbane, Australia. Once again, big shout out to Chris. I believe it was Chris, Christy, and Simon. Where's our handy dandy? Chris, Christy, and Simon for the photos out of Brisbane. Or I wouldn't have went down there. I probably would have not seen there they are, right there. Yeah, Christy, Chris, and Simon. They all were very taken back. And I know that they weren't the only people that saw these. You know, there were hundreds, if not thousands of people that looked up and saw these on that day. But they didn't see the crafts, or they would have been taking pictures of them too. The crafts were more stealthy, traveling above the clouds, not below the clouds. Like this one here. This one wasn't trying to hide in broad daylight. Cheryl Purvis out of Waco, Texas. It was like a big bowl setting up in the sky, and you don't see any other clouds anywhere else. I mean, she was very taken back by just the presence of this thing, just kind of sitting there like, okay, what now? Gets weirder by the day, and you don't have to make this stuff up. Lord, no, just look around. It's there. It's there all the time. Can't make this stuff up, guys. Okay, where are we at? That was, okay, yeah, here's, this is Zoom Earth. There it is right there. There's the craft, still on Zoom Earth. Cha-ching, there he is. Came from the inland. Any new quakes since we've been on here? The other day we were doing a live stream, and there was a 7.0. It was downgraded to a 6.9, but a 7.0 while we were doing the live stream. That's a 5.2 that occurred today off the coast of Morocco, Casablanca. You don't see earthquakes out there very often either, but there was one today. Earthquake activity continues to swarm the northern hemisphere, and there are still buoys in event mode following the 8.8 earthquake. And they say there could be, there was an aftershock right there. 4.9, that's a moderate earthquake. There have been many aftershocks of 6, 6.1, 6.3, 6.4, 5, on and on and on. There have been hundreds of earthquakes over there, and they're probably nowhere near done yet. So very active place right now as the Pacific plate appears to be moving, from what I understand, to the north. So definitely an adjustment there. There's a volcano over there now erupting. We can look for more volcanic activity as the sunspot turns towards the Earth. There's a big one coming, and we should be able to see it over here on the northeastern limb of the sun. We'll probably start to be able to see the edges of it by Monday. Today's Saturday, so by Monday evening when this updates, Monday late, probably 9, 10 o'clock, we should be able to see the outer edge of the large sunspot that's turning towards the Earth. Solar activity is going to increase, probably see some X-flares. We'll probably see earthquake activity increase here on the Earth, and we'll probably see more volcanic activity once that active region turns towards the Earth, because Earth has always historically reacted with earthquakes, volcanoes, whenever there's large sunspots facing the Earth, even large coronal holes. A coronal hole, I don't know if there's one facing the Earth right now or not. Let's look. Yeah, there's a small one, maybe two. This is a coronal hole. It's not big enough to really make a difference here on the Earth, but there is high-speed solar wind coming out from that area right there, because the dark spot is the surface of the sun. The lighter colors are the atmosphere of the sun, the chromosphere, and all these different types of spheres that surround the sun, but that is not surrounded by anything. So the solar wind comes out of there unchallenged. And sometimes when that's directly facing the Earth, it can trigger geomagnetic storms. And also the Earth reverberates that energy, absorbs that energy, and earthquakes happen. This one down here is more deep in the southern hemisphere, but that's another example of a coronal hole. But that energy is obviously going in a downward motion. So will it come towards the Earth? No, it's not going to come towards the Earth. So all in all, right now the sun is very quiet, but that's going to change, especially next week with the arrival of the giant sunspot. If it's still held together, it does look like it's maintaining its overall general very large presence. It was so big at one time, it was changing the way the sun oscillates. It was that big. It's still big compared to the sunspots we see over here on the right. This is a huge, huge event. So it'll be interesting to see what type of energy it sends Earth's way. If anything, these things can be very unpredictable. I mean, we've seen sunspots that were quite large, full of complex magnetics. They got to have beta, gamma, delta magnetics in order to produce X-flares. That one looks like it probably does, just based off of its sheer size. The bigger they are, the more complex they are, and the more complex magnetics they contain. So those complex magnetics can unleash X-flare after X-flare after X-flare. And there was an email. And that's why my moderator says her ears are ringing right there, is because of the solar. And that is a connection that my moderator has made with regard to the ringing of the ears, is with heightened solar activity. It seems to be a not so coincidence, you know. She's noticed the ears ringing much more during heightened solar activity than times of quiet solar activity. So again, that's your central nervous system reacting to the energy of the sun. Your central nervous system, the folks that are they can tell. You know, there have been many people that have shared in emails with me that you know, I mentioned that, oh, you don't need this graph to know. Some people don't need this graph, the Schumann resonance graph, to know when the Schumann is spiking. They're very sensitive to the energies and the spikes that are detected in the Schumann. They don't need a graph to know that, hey, the Schumann's spiking today. They're very sensitive in that regard to the fluctuations in the overall energy. That's Earth's frequency. Earth's frequency is 7.83. And when the Schumann is up above 40 hertz, you know, people can feel that. They're sensitive to that. Sometimes it's above 50 hertz. Like right in here, this is 7.83. The non-eventual places where it gets up to the red, that's up into the 10 hertz range, which really isn't a big deal. Right now, like, yesterday, that red spike right there, you go over to the right, there's 40. The red spike was above 40, so that puts the Schumann resonance on that day, yesterday at 1800 Universal Time, August 1st, the Schumann resonance was above 50 for the better part of 6 hours, above 50. So those of you, and there's several people that have connected that dot, that are sensitive to the Schumann, you know it. You didn't need the graph to know that, the Schumann's up today. You can just tell. Some people can tell when there's a coronal hole facing the Earth. They can tell when there's sunspots facing the Earth. With the ringing of the ear phenomena. Again, that's your central nervous system responding to energy. It could be energy from a variety of different places, but a common source is the sun, Schumann resonance, and the inner core of the Earth. Yes, the inner core of the Earth that creates the magnetic field and all that. Yeah, you can feel that energy. We all feel that energy by default. We live here. We're in the middle of the core of the Earth and the sun and everything that's surrounding us. So yes, you're going to be sensitive to these things. You just get used to it because you've adapted, because this is all we know. So it goes back to the sound of silence has changed, and that's a whole nother topic, but the sound of silence has changed. It's not the way it was 50 years ago. 50 years ago, there weren't cell towers and all these satellites and TV tower. Well, there were TV towers, but cell towers, satellites, direct TV, modems, routers. There weren't all of these wireless frequencies flying around for cell phones and TV and GPS. Now there is. So it's affected the sound of silence. It's changed, y'all. It's changed. It sure has. Well, listen, guys, I hope you enjoyed today's show. I'd like to thank everybody for stopping by. Appreciate that. Graham? Oh, the voids. I'm sorry, Graham. The voids. I'm sure you're talking about the voids in the... there's an ocean under the ocean, and that ocean is always on the move. There's a ocean underneath the topsoil that we've never seen. There's all kinds of activity underneath the crust of the Earth. The voids come and go. The voids, when magma's on the move, there's crustal displacement and things like that. It's alive underneath the surface of the Earth. There's so much going on underneath there that we have no clue. There's a whole other world inside this world. So yeah, I mean, the voids, I'm not sure exactly how specific you want to get, but yeah, there's voids underneath the Earth. Part of those voids are filled up with water. So it's another topic of long discussion. You could talk for hours on that topic, but good question. All right, my friends, I'm going to hop off here, go get some dinner because it is almost dinner time. Thanks for watching. Have a super day and be safe out there.